Again, welcome to the MICAH Anoka County 2022 virtual bus tour, and want to especially give a thanks to Sue Baisden, Natividad Civil, and Christina Hill, Pastor Christina Hill, for all their great work in helping to coordinate this. I'm going to turn it over to Christina to introduce our first speaker.
Good morning, everyone. Like Sue mentioned, my name is Pastor Christina Hill, and I will be hosting this event. I'm so grateful for you all being here, and I will introduce our faith reflection by welcoming Pastor Diana Dunham Foltz from Coon Rapids United Methodist Church. So, Pastor Diana, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you guys all hear me okay? Show me a thumbs up if we're all right. Cool. It's great to see all of you this morning. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. Recently, at one of our bread and bakery giveaways, Friday afternoons 4 to 6, I encountered a child who was with an adult. I thought it was their parent, but this child had a bag of their own to choose their food items. And they were presented with an option to choose, and they really pondered it quite a while. In this case, it was a treat, donut holes, or 4 baked donuts with sprinkles and frosting. I watched this child look at the two things back and forth, and I began to think about what got us to the place where this child was there with that choice in front of her. I thought about the volunteers who set up the tables, who put the food out, who picked up the food from the stores that were donating, from the stores that donated, the donuts themselves, the hands, the machines that made them, purchasers, suppliers who got the ingredients to them, the store that funded this and the people who shop there so they have the funds. I thought about the ingredients themselves, the flour, sugar, whatever else goes into a donut, the farmers that grew and the people that harvested all the ingredients, people that milled the flour and processed and packaged the sugar. If you've ever learned about where sugar comes from, that's quite a thing, likely from all parts of the world. You could run down so many roads with this, thinking about that network, the people who build the trucks, the gasoline that powers them, the roads that we drive on. I wondered how many people, how much networking did it take for this child to be standing there with this choice? And underneath it all, there's the land itself, the rain, the sunlight, everything we do depends on these things. It's the common bond that we share as humans. We are all interconnected as human beings. We always have, and we always will be. The Center for Compassionate Leadership wrote a beautiful article in March 25 of 2020. It's called Awakening to Our Interconnectedness. The sun that shines on us warms each of us in the same way, no matter who we are. In fact, it's warmed all humans and all creation the same way for 4.5 billion years. We look up at the moon and stars at night. We have this energetic connection to all inhabitants across the earth. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the water molecules, the recirculation, recycling of all material connects us profoundly to other living creatures throughout time and into the future. Any sense that we are not connected is nothing more than an idea of our own creation, not our Creator's creation. In his 2014 book, Moving Toward Global Compassion, Dr. Paul Ekman asks, what would our world be like if we all felt this connectivity and global compassion, the feeling of compassion for all people, not just those in our family or those who are like us? The reality is that now our community is the entire world, and yet sometimes we still act as if our community is smaller. The threats we face together are global in scale. If we are to thrive as a human race, we must cooperate and act compassionately toward our village, which is the whole world. And so my hope for you today through this bus tour and everything you encounter is that as you see and interact with people in the most ordinary of ways, you will be reminded of the massive network of humanity that makes these things possible. In case you're wondering, the little child, they chose the donuts with the sprinkles. So praying for you today in all of these things, and amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks so much, Pastor Diana. So I just want to share a little bit of information about MICAH. MICAH is the Metropolitan Interfaith Council on Affordable Housing, and it's also based on the scripture Micah 6:8, which teaches us to do justice, love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. Our organization started in 1988 by people of diverse faiths who came together to address the growing number of people in our communities experiencing homelessness. Our mission is to ensure that everyone, without exception, has a safe, decent, accessible, and affordable home. We are a welcoming community, respectful, accepting, and loving, and we aim to treat others the way that we would want to be treated if we were in a similar situation. Our members are congregations and organizations that help to address the immediate needs of people in our community, providing support that includes prevention services, outreach, food, shelter, transitional and supportive housing, and affordable rental and home ownership options. In addition to providing or supporting these direct services, we are an advocacy organization. We advocate with local, state, and national policymakers to address systemic causes of homelessness, advocating for policy changes that encourage communities to build and preserve affordable housing that currently is in such short supply. Our work is not based only on our values, but on listening to and working with people who have experienced homelessness themselves, and encouraging them to use their God-given power and voice at decision-making tables and developing solutions to the current housing crisis. 70% of MICAH's board and staff are from diverse communities. Over half of our board and staff have experienced homelessness or housing crises or discrimination. We organize in 6 regional chapters, and each chapter meets at least monthly by Zoom, including Anoka County, South Dakota County, Northeast Washington and suburban Ramsey County, St. Paul, suburban Hennepin with Housing for All, and Minneapolis with Blue Line, Freedom from the Streets, and No More Streets. You are, of course, welcome to join us at any of these meetings. Our MICAH Anoka chapter meeting is on the second Thursday at 4 p.m. We usually meet over Zoom. And to get more information or to sign up for our constant contact, you can check out the link that Sue is going to put in the chat for us when she is not driving the bus. So with that, we will get on with our tour. We'll get started this morning. Thank you all again for being here today.
Thank you so much, Christina. And so I'm Sue Watlov Phillips, the Executive Director of MICAH, and I will be taking you around on the bus tour. So strap on in. Our meeting's being recorded so others can review it later. So if you want to stay on screen, you may end up being a part of the recording on screen. If you don't want to be on screen, you can go off screen. We're asking everyone to mute yourself unless you are presenting. Raise your hand physically or use the participants menu if you have a chat or a question. We do have a full agenda, so we will try to answer questions if we can, or ask the speakers to respond in the chat. If at any point the audio or video presentation seems choppy, try turning off your camera feed. No spitballs, no hanging out the window. Okay, here we go. See if we can get the bus going here. Okay, let's get on board. Okay, here we go. Over to Anoka County. Now I'll turn it back to you, Christina.
All right, our first stop is at the Anoka County government. We are welcoming Representative Connie Bernardy and Anoka County Commissioner Mandy Meisner. But first, I would like to turn it over to Natividad, who has some special words for us this morning.
Good morning, everybody. I am so thankful you could all make it today, and we have a great bus driver to take us around on our lovely tour. I originally asked State Representative Connie Bernardy to join us in this meeting because we have a surprise for her. I don't think there's a big enough surprise for her, actually. We wanted to thank you, I would like to thank you personally for being a dear friend and a big, huge advocate for manufactured housing of all over the entire state, keeping in mind that there's almost 1,000 communities in the state of Minnesota, and that is an estimated 189,000 families that are living in manufactured housing. And Connie has helped us push some bills for the first time in 30 years. That has been amazing help for all of us across the board. So with that, MICAH is giving you the MICAH Community Hero Award, Miss Connie Bernardy, State Representative, for your years of steadfast and passionate advocacy for equity, racial, and social justice for all. And it is presented to you by the MICAH Board of Directors, staff, congregations, friends, and people who are at risk or have experienced homelessness, which includes myself as a child. I want to thank you for your dear friendship and for always showing up to everything possible for our community. And I bless you with many, many great things in your retirement. And I'm going to cry because I'm going to so miss you so much. So thank you so much for everything you do.
Oh, Sue, can I just say a couple comments?
Oh, yes, and then you can give some updates too. That'd be great. Thank you.
I'm going to turn on my light. Hold on. I just realized I didn't have my lights on. Well, thank you so much. I have tears in my eyes as well. This is a great honor, and thank you so much, Natividad, and to Sue and MICAH, all the people here. You are my heroes because you are giving voice to people who need a voice and making sure that everyone gets to live with dignity and respect and with hope and warmth, actually. And so it truly is a blessing to receive this, but I really feel like I am receiving it for all of you, for all of your work that you're doing. And it truly, truly has been an honor to actually to be able to joyfully walk with all of you to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God and with all of you. So it truly is an honor to receive this award. I'm glad I've been able to be a partner with all of you. And there's so much more work to be done. And I'm so hopeful knowing everyone here is committed to this vision and will continue that work. And I hope to be able to continue to walk with you in that journey. So thank you very, very much.
And Connie, do you want to say a few words about the great work that you've done over the years and kind of where you're going to be heading next?
Well, the great work that you all have done and that we have done together, Natividad has been my partner in crime in this, and I know Sue has been since my inception of my legislative career, and really working hard to preserve the most affordable of affordable housing, and that are manufactured homes for people in our community, and giving them a voice to the land they live on and the home they have, and to create security for families. I know my parents were teenage wed parents, and they're now in their 80s and they're still married. And security was a value that was instilled in me, and it was so important. And knowing how much everyone here is working to help build security for families, and especially in the manufacturing home community, to making sure that they have control of the land that they live on and have a voice and a stake in that. That is important work that all of you are doing. And it's been an honor to help push legislation to make sure that people have the opportunity to buy their manufactured home parks, and they don't get sold out to all these investors around the country who are wanting to price them out of their homes. And I just, it's been an honor to partner with that. And, I'm hoping that working hard, making sure that we get funds to these communities to be able to restore their infrastructure and to be able to have homeowners be able to upgrade their homes, and with grants and with financing, and to be able to revamp and retrofit homes in these communities that can't be revived, but need to be taken off and be able to be rebuilt for another family. So anyway, it truly has been an honor, because this is definitely God's work, and all of you are definitely serving our community and doing amazing work. So thank you very much for having me be a partner in this work.
Thank you so much. Mandy, do you want to say a few words from Anoka County Commissioner?
Yes, I would love to. And good morning, everyone. My name is Mandy Meisner, and I am lucky to represent the new District 7, which is Fridley, Columbia Heights, and Hilltop. So I just have to echo some of the sentiments that Natividad talked about. Representative Connie Bernardy, she is a champion for everyone for so many years. So thanks so much for recognizing Representative Bernardy for all of her work. And then I'm going to talk a little bit personally, and then I'll give some official county updates. But Natividad is actually, I get to brag about this. She's a leader in my community. So she, as you guys know, is part of Park Plaza. But I actually talk about this quite a lot in terms of affordable housing and manufactured homes, as Connie talked about. But this is, I think, the only one in the state, or one of the very few, that are their own co-op. So they really have ownership over their property. And I'm learning more and more over time how powerful and important that is. So I'm up for re-election, and I was knocking Hilltop just last week. And so Hilltop is largely a manufactured home population, and just having conversations with their particular residents and not owning the land and some of the challenges that they continue to face just because of that dynamic. So it's quite an accomplishment, and I just have to say I appreciate it more and more. So before I was a commissioner, my history really is community service, homelessness specifically. I was first introduced actually through Stepping Stone, probably about a decade or so ago. And that was really my first introduction in terms of emergency shelter type of solutions. Now that I'm a commissioner, although I'm not assigned to it, I really want to continue to study and educate myself around this. So for Anoka County, we have something called Heading Home, which is a collaborative with a bunch of different groups and regions. It's mainly a financial mechanism to get funding, but also to make sure that we're communicating what are people doing out in the community? How can we partner? So I always, just try to keep my pulse on that. And as far as some of the main things that Anoka County is doing for affordable housing and homelessness, for ARPA funds, the first round, the CARES Act dollars, we got about $34 million. For the ARPA funds, the second round, we have about $69 million. So it's all allocated in different ways. The board gets to decide that. Part of that, though, is going to the Home Investment Partnership Program. So we have put $2.4 million specifically around that area. Now, I will say, as a commissioner, I really advocated not only to do more for this particular issue, but in my opinion, we could have been more creative and more aggressive with basic and different community needs. But for $2.4 million is what we have allocated for this. Now we have to spend it all by 2030. So we have a lot of time ahead of us, which is a good thing to plan. So what we are positioning as a county right now is to partner with other agencies. We're not so much interested in purchasing a building ourselves and then running that. We're looking to partner with others who are already doing the work, like a Family Promise, that type of a thing. But we're still pretty early in the process in terms of talking with agencies, figuring out, okay, what does this look like? Who is best positioned to do the operational things? But qualifying populations that we're talking to, right? So experiencing homelessness or risk of homelessness, domestic violence, fleeing or attempting to flee, sexual assault, stalking, human trafficking. A few tidbits for you guys that might be of interest for you. About 15% can be used for planning and administration. There is a maximum of 5% that can be used for nonprofit operating and capacity building assistance. If you are carrying out activities that meet the home ARP requirements. And then also, so the 85% of the grant funds, which is again what we're investigating and having conversations about right now, is rental housing, tenant-based rental assistance, supportive services, and non-congregate shelters. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I actually don't have too much more updates than the last time I was here, unfortunately. This is, slow moving, but as always, I mean, I do like to hear from you so then I can carry out that message to my colleagues at the board and really help to shape this. $2.4 million is not a lot of money. So for me, I just want to make sure that we're being smart and stretching it as much as possible to help as many people as possible. So that's kind of where my focus is, but I can't do that without, listening to you guys. So that's kind of my basic update right now. And of course, open invitation, please call or email me anytime. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you guys. And then I don't know, Sue, if you're open for questions or if you want to wait for later.
I think we'll wait for later because we have a pretty packed agenda, but
Yeah.
if you put into the chat, your email and phone number, we're going to go to the share screen again too. And
okay, well, thank you again. Thank you. I'm Mandy Meisner, Anoka County Commissioner. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And we're going to move on here, and you can contact Representative Connie Bernardy and Anoka County Commissioner Mandy Meisner at that information, and they will be putting their information into the chat. And we're going to move on to our next site. And here we go. Virtual buses go in very interesting ways, so please do not drive this way. And I'm going to turn it back over to Christina.
All right. Our next stop on this bus tour is Stepping Stone Emergency Housing. We have joining us this morning, Rihanna Coffey, Program Coordinator, and Jeff Connor, Development Officer. I will turn it over to them.
Hi, I'm Rihanna. I am the program coordinator at Stepping Stone Emergency Housing. And Jeff, if you want to introduce yourself, I'm going to get our slides pulled up.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jeff Connor. I'm development officer at Stepping Stone. I started just about, it wasn't even a full month prior to the pandemic starting. So my whole job description changed in about 2 weeks after I started.
You go to slideshow on the top in the kind of the orangish in the middle.
I think that I just have the Zoom stuff in the way.
Right there. Yep. Go over one. Okay. And then just go from the beginning. Yep.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So like I said, I'm the program coordinator. Today actually happens to be my last day as the program coordinator. So Jeff will talk more at the end about our open positions, but I just wanted to start by talking a little bit about Stepping Stone. We support people 18 and up who are experiencing homelessness, and we are expanding kind of exponentially right now. We've got a lot of projects that Jeff and I are going to talk about. And we always aim to provide a safe and inclusive community for all gender identities, sexual orientation, marital status, abilities, races, ethnicities, faiths, and socioeconomic circumstances. The main thing is that we support people 18 and up. So we just wanted to talk a little bit about the differences between running the shelter before COVID and then after COVID. So I started at Stepping Stone as an advocate in 2019, and it was before anything COVID had really started. We had one location in Anoka. We had 8 residents per room on bunk beds. We maxed out residents at 6 months of stay with their first 90 days being free, second 90 days being paid by boarding fees. And then we had 24-hour staffing. And in 2019, we had 515 unduplicated residents. But then when COVID really took off, that had to change some things. So we ended up partnering with Washington County because they had 2 emergency COVID hotel shelters. And we've been doing the case management for them over there ever since that started, and actually have been chosen to continue with their permanent shelter. And then in addition to that, we moved half of our residents to a hotel in Anoka so that we could social distance better and try to slow the spread because we were dealing with a lot of outbreaks. And through that process, we also got approved to start renovations on the second floor of our shelter in Anoka, which will really help us not only keep people socially distant, which is really important, not just for COVID when you're in community spaces, but for the flu and everything like that. It'll also help us address some concerns around sexual or gender identity and just having a men's wing and a women's wing. We would like it to be more inclusive, and the second floor is going to give us that opportunity. We have since started doing mask mandates, so everybody has to wear masks in shared shelter spaces. We do weekly saliva testing as well as a rapid test at intake, just so that we can keep our reporting with MDH good. We have experienced a lot of staffing trouble in transition since COVID. People just not being able to work, they need to go take care of family, tons of stuff, but emergency staffing has been made available through the state, and Jeff is going to talk more in a minute about the funding that let us do that. Our length of stay, we've got a couple people that were here for over a year, if not 2, because of COVID. We are just now seeing those people that were here before COVID exit. I don't believe we have anybody that's been here for 2 years at this moment. And then we were able to serve less residents. We had 355 unduplicated residents in 2021. And that is partially just due when we have outbreaks, we can't do intakes. There were also a lot of pop-up shelters throughout COVID. And so some people were going to places that had better hotels and stuff like that if they could get in. And before I pass it off to Jeff, I just want to share a quick success story. So we did get permission from the 2 residents as well as to use their picture and their names in this. But we had a woman, Dana, who has stayed at Stepping Stone, both like right at the beginning of the pandemic and then very recently. And so she just shared about how much she appreciated the types of funding that Stepping Stone was able to get through COVID and how Stepping Stone utilized it. So when she first stayed here, we had limited residents. Everybody was at the shelter still. Nobody could leave for more than 2 hours a day unless it was for work. Everybody was really scared, and it was not good. It was not a fun time for anybody. So she just really wanted to highlight how amazing the hotel was, especially since she was pregnant when she came back. She felt a lot safer and was able to work diligently on her housing plan because she wasn't worried as much about the COVID issues. So she did successfully get into housing and sent us a lovely picture of her daughter, Brinley, with her partner, Angel. So now I'm going to pass it off to Jeff just to kind of talk about our funding and donations and positions.
Yeah, thanks, Rihanna. That was a great update. And just want to say that we're very sad to see Rihanna leaving us. She is moving on upward and onward. So we're always excited to see folks that can transition to something that elevates them in their career and elevates our community at the same time. So we're excited about that. Just a little bit about how we use the CARES and ARP money. A lot of it went early on, especially to PPE. I know we've gotten quite a few donations of PPE in, but we've certainly used some of that money to help with that and the testing and things like that. Hotel expense for residents. Right now, we continue to shelter about half of our residents at the hotel down the road, and that's coming at an expense of about $50,000 per month. And the funding for that did run out a couple of months ago, so that's coming directly out of our reserves right now. We also used it for hazard pay and emergency staffing. As Rihanna alluded to, we have had some serious struggles over the last couple of years, like everyone else has, in regards to staffing. And we ended up having last year, I just want to say all the precautions that we took early on in the pandemic, we never had a single positive case of COVID amongst residents in 2020. It wasn't until May of 21 that we had our first positive case. And then things were winding down at the end of summer last year. So we brought all the residents back in, and within a month, we had an outbreak. We had 35% of residents and 20% of staff test positive for COVID. That staffing was the major obstacle, major trouble for us, because it kept us from staffing the shelter 24 hours a day, which we're mandated to do per the lease. So we ended up moving 100% of residents to the hotel for about 6 months. They didn't come back until February of this year. And staffing continues to be a struggle. So that emergency staffing has been so necessary and so needed. And so we're just very thankful that we were able to receive that. I'm going to go on to the next slide there, Rihanna. And then just to point out a couple of new opportunities, the Washington County contract, we have 2 temporary hotels. One in, is it Woodbury?
Yep, Woodbury
and one in Stillwater. And then Anoka County, the Board of Commissioners did approve this year to open up our second floor. So we are in renovations. We received a $1.9 million grant to do the renovations on this second floor. That top picture there is showing what it looks like right now. And they're starting work, maybe even right now as we're speaking, but anytime now, the work will start and hopefully be done. We'll have residents fully back into the shelter by the end of the year. We do have a funding gap. That 1.9 million falls short about $400,000. We need about 2.3 million in total. So we're looking for alternative funding sources to bridge that gap. Last slide there, Rihanna. And then just a little bit of contact information there, a list of things that we always need for donations. Our available positions right now, we are in search of a program director, program coordinator, shelter advocate, and I know we're interviewing right now for our executive director position. Julie Jepson, our former director, decided to take a run at the Anoka County Commissioner and try to do some good for homelessness at that level. So we're also looking for that. And then just some $55 a day is what it costs us. So, and that $50,000 a month that we're spending at the hotel are all reasons why we need more donations coming in. Thank you.
And I will stop sharing and also just share that hopefully I will get to continue working with some of you guys and our residents at Stepping Stone as I start next week at the St. Paul Opportunity Center filling the housing units above Dorothy Day. So hopefully I won't be fully gone from everybody, but thank you for letting us share.
Thank you so much, Rihanna, and thank you so much, Jeff, and congratulations on your new position, and look forward to continue to work with you. And we're going to get back onto the bus. And again, there's the contact information, and so hang on, back onto the bus. And for those of you that don't know some of these acronyms, so ARP is American Rescue Plan dollars. So as we're doing acronyms, we're going to try to help people understand those acronyms as we move along here. Again, be careful, do not drive like this. All right, up to Family Promise. I'm turning it back over to Christina.
All right, I'm excited to welcome us to Family Promise, and I will introduce our presenter, David Fry, the Executive Director. Thanks, David.
Thanks. Yeah, everybody want to say thank you for joining us on the bus. It's nice to see so many of our friends out there. Family Promise in Anoka County has been serving families for a little over 12 years now in Anoka County, and things look a little bit different than they did before COVID, and I'll get through that in just a second here. I'll start sharing my screen and tell you a little bit about what we're up to. So can you see our logo big on your screen? Because it disappeared off of mine. All right, great. So yeah, Family Promise in Anoka County. We are an organization that started about 12 years ago when some people in our community recognized the need for a response to homelessness for families. And so from that time, we were able to build an organization that encompasses 22 local congregations and then many other organizations and individuals who come together to make an impact on families experiencing homeless. Our mission is empowering families experiencing housing insecurity to build a foundation of lasting independence. And changing our mission statement was something that we started to do just before COVID hit, with the idea that there's a lot more to do, that providing shelter wasn't in fact the mission of our organization. The mission of our organization was to get people into their sustainable future. And shelter was just one of those tools. And we recognized a need for other opportunities as well to be able to help families in a lot of ways. So we currently have 3 primary programs that we focus on. It's our prevention, our shelter, and our stabilization. And the families that we serve in all of these programs are families with minor children who are residents of Anoka County. That seems straightforward. There are some disclaimers there, and what is it that makes a family that's experiencing homelessness a resident of a county. There are different ways that we can do that, and that we kind of figure that out with families who call us. And there are some limitations that we have too. We don't work with families that have active DV, for instance, because they can get great service from Alexandra House, for instance. And so they have better tools to do that. So we'll pass them off to there. But otherwise, those are the people that we tend to serve. Our prevention program, the focus on that one is to help families avoid the trauma of homelessness in the first place by either getting them to be able to stay in the housing that they're in, or helping them to quickly resolve into something without the need for shelter, which would technically be diversion instead of prevention, but we lump it all in under prevention because there's kind of a big gray line between all those. This is a program that we've been doing for a little over 2 years now. We've seen some great success, and nearly all of the families that we've helped are still housed in the same place that they were before. All of the families that we've helped with prevention, is my understanding, are still stably housed now, at least 18 months in. So that seems to be working for us. It's been a great thing in COVID because it was something like we were preparing for something we didn't know was coming, because the best thing for families oftentimes was to be able to keep the space where they were as far as their safety from COVID, much less avoiding the trauma of homelessness in the first place. Shelter is where we started and where we continue to focus a lot of our efforts, and I'll be talking about some changes we'll be making to that shortly. But the idea with shelter is that we can offer space to families to stay while they work through their case management goals so they can return to independence. They've lost their housing, and once you lose your housing, so many other dominoes fall as well too. And so we tried to walk alongside them to stop all of that, to stop everything from falling apart and to start putting it back together. And that's where in our mission, we talk about building that foundation, something solid that they can have their newfound stability built on. And we can continue working with both our prevention and our shelter families in our stabilization program. But first, I'll just share a little bit about how our shelter program has changed. We, for years, did a rotation where for a week at a time, our local congregations would provide the overnight shelter accommodations, the food and hospitality to families for a week at a time. And then every week they would end up at a new congregation who would host them there as well. During the day, families would come to our day center, and that's where they could access services with our case manager. They could use computers, do laundry, and there is no cost to the families themselves to be part of this program. Our stabilization programming is one that focuses on helping families that wish to stay involved with us, to continue case management, to make sure that their issue of homelessness is something that is behind them and will stay there. It doesn't come up again. And so we continue to work with them. We have one of the newest things that's very exciting is we have budget mentors who, after the families go through during prevention or shelter program time, they go through a budgeting program. And then we have volunteer mentors who meet with them regularly to work on specifics, like drill down on actual numbers and make things happen. And they build up a great relationship with them. So we have different ways that we can make stabilization happen. But our goal there is to make sure that the families are able to hold on to their newfound stability and just make it stronger. We have a lot of other services too that we do that are smaller parts of what we do. Some of them are really light touch. We are an open referring agency for bridging. So anyone, and this doesn't have to be families even, but anybody who needs a bridging referral, we can work with them to get that done. They just have to give us a call. And then we have all the way up to programs like our Home for Keeps program that helps families into home ownership. We haven't been doing a lot with that over COVID and lately because the expense of the manufactured housing we're using has just gotten astronomical and unsustainable for a lot of our families. But we have a lot of pieces there. That's still an open program and a lot of other things that we do for families as well. Looking ahead, we have some exciting stuff that we are trying to do. Prior to COVID, we were looking to flip the model and have the families stay in one place and our congregational volunteers come to visit them and support them there. We call that a static site because then the families get to have that static space where they have the consistency of being able to stay. Through the time of COVID, we discovered that we could even design this space in a way that it would be non-congregate. So each family would have their own unique space so they could have the dignity of a small apartment type of setup for each of them to live in and to work toward their future stability. So we are we're working on getting a purchase agreement signed for 2 properties in Coon Rapids. A commercial property that would become our new day center and offices, and then an adjacent residential property that we would be able to use to, there's a house on it now, but we would be able to add housing to it over time to create more space to serve the families. One of the other things that's happening is that Lord of Life, where our day center is currently, is transitioning some of their property. So the space that we're in will be going away. So this timing is great for us. And Mandy, I'll be dropping off a CDBG grant later today. So hopefully that'll be coming across your desk for the November meeting. And hopefully we'll be able to move forward there. And then if it's still available, we may be trying to go after some of the ARPA funds for making one of those first 4-plex buildings on that property as well. So we have a lot coming forward. I just got back this morning from our national conference in Las Vegas, so I'm sorry if I'm a little bit disjointed. It was a lot of travel getting back here, but just excited to be making some of this progress here. And one of the things that we have that is so wonderful is that we have the ability to work with families and children and just to see the transformation that can come from that. I'll just close with the fact that we have one family who right before I left for our conference was able to move into housing. And this was a really big deal. I was able to help her move into the new apartment and she was really excited because it was the nicest place that she had ever been in. She has a voucher, a Section 8 voucher, and some disabilities that make it really hard for her to get through life for her and her toddler sometimes. And that was only increased when the reason that she lost her housing was because of a fire. So not only did she lose all of her housing, she lost everything that was there. There were a few things that she salvaged, and even after cleaning those off, when I was helping her to bring this stuff into her new apartment, like carrying up her TV that had been given to her as a gift, my hands were just covered in the soot from that fire still. And so our volunteers, our network, were able to wrap around her and get her the things that we need. I know some of the people are on the call right now that showed up with some donations for her because they had very little even in the way of clothing. And people showed up and wrapped their arms around her and helped her with what they could do. And now she is in a new place, really excited to be there and looking forward to not having to deal with soot and fire and having everything that she and her son need. So I want to say thank you to our community for making that happen and for allowing stories like that to happen over and over for Family Promise. So, and thanks to you all for being on the bus today, and appreciate any feedback or questions you may have at the end. Thanks.
Thank you so much, David, and thank you for your great work, and continue to remind us that we're talking about God's wonderful creations, his wonderful people that we are helping to have a home again, just as we have an eternal home for each of us. One of the questions that came in chat, if you could just say a little bit about Bridging before we move on to our next stop.
Oh, sure. Bridging is an organization out of the Twin Cities. It covers the metro area, I believe. And it is a place where they take donated furniture from either individuals or corporate partners. And families, individuals are able to go there and for a small fee can basically shop for the furniture, a small appointment fee, and they can take what they need to furnish their apartment and can either get that themselves or have it delivered. So that's a partner that we work with, I would say probably about 25 times a year.
Great. Thank you so much. And thanks again for all your great work and all the great congregations that are a part of your work too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, I need my hands.
Oh, yeah. It's
Down this. Yes.
All right. We are going to continue on here.
Yes.
All right, Brandy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David. And Sue, if you could mute the person that may be talking in the background. And we're going to go move on down the road here on our bus tour. Again, this is how you can connect with Family Promise. And so here we go on the bus again. Hang on. And again, the bridging is not the bridges that we're going to cross. It's a furniture place that you can get furniture for folks that are in need. So here we go. And going up to Matthew 25, I'm going to turn it back over to Christina to do our introductions.
All right, I want to welcome our hosts from Matthew 25. Joining us today, Sue Lehrer and Wendy Dorholtz, co-leaders of Matthew 25. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So Wendy, are you starting us?
Sue?
She's talking, but I think she's muted.
Okay.
There, sorry. Thank you for this opportunity to share the Matthew 25 story with you. In 2019, approximately 25 to 30 members of the Coon Rapids United Methodist Church began volunteering at a monthly Matthew 25 food distribution that was held by the Spirit River Community Church in Isanti. However, when the pandemic hit in early 2020, everything stopped. Then in October 2020, when Pastor Diana called me to help her with a task, I responded by saying, what I really want to do is to feed people like Spirit River's Matthew 25. Despite having a budget of $0, the first Matthew 25 drive-through food distribution at Coon Rapids UMC began 3 months later on January 10th, 2021, in the middle of a pandemic.
The drive-through food distribution takes place from noon until 2 o'clock on the second Sunday of every month. Each family receives a prepackaged grocery bag of food and 2 bags of every meal staple food for a total weight of 15 to 20 pounds. We also deliver 60 to 70 bags of food to 2 subsidized apartments every month. Collectively, we serve 450 families each month through this program. Last month, 66 volunteers contributed 634 hours to make the distribution happen. We have made a conscious decision not to use Second Harvest or the food group to purchase food because we do not want to ask people for qualifying information, as sometimes that makes people uncomfortable and might keep them away. There are no questions asked and no qualifications to receive groceries from Matthew 25. All are welcome. Matthew 25 is considered a supplemental food distribution because we can't always supply every food group and because we provide unique food that other food distributions may not have. Our current food partners are Every Meal, Bergen Fruit and Nut Company, Starbucks, Panera, the Olive Garden, and 2 grocery stores. We also purchase fresh produce from Nick and Drew's Discount Foods in Isanti. Some of the food that comes to us is in bulk and must be repackaged into smaller quantities. Twice a week, we have 2-hour packing sessions where 12 to 15 people come and pack. There are jobs for people who can stand, as well as those that need to sit. This has provided a wonderful way for people of all physical abilities to be part of serving our community. These opportunities to serve have also provided a chance for volunteers from the church and the community to build special relationships.
Out of an overabundance of bread and bakery products, we started a bread and bakery giveaway on July 15th, 2022. This event occurs every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. in the church lobby. This is a choice-based event where people select what they want. Our guests walk around tables filled with bread, bakery, deli, meat, miscellaneous items, and fresh produce. Some of the produce comes from the Matthew 25 community garden that we began this spring. The garden has been a success and it will be expanded next year. Most people leave the bread and bakery giveaway with at least 2 to 3 plastic grocery bags filled with food. Approximately 150 people come to this event every week. We never expected to see 600 people every month coming into our building to select food. Being face to face with many of the same people each week is a completely different experience from the drive-through food distribution. It is more personal. People share their stories with us and openly express their appreciation for what we are doing and how much this food is helping them.
Matthew 25 has been filled with miracles every step of the way. None of us had any idea of the amount of food insecurity in our direct neighborhood. We have been so blessed to have so many wonderful food partners, dedicated volunteers that are willing to help the ministry, and our church family that continues to pray each and every day for Matthew 25. Our hearts are filled with so much joy that we know with all of us working together, we are truly making a difference in our community. And we want to thank you so much for inviting us to be on this bus tour. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wendy and Sue. What an incredible story. And thank you for your incredible service and the opportunity for people to access those resources in any way that they want to. That's great for people not to have to provide additional information, but because they need it, they can get it. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And we're going to go back to sharing screen and we'll share their website. And so again, if you would like to help them out and provide financial donations or any donations of food, van for delivery, always can use help with grants and volunteers. So please give them a call. So we're gonna get back on our bus, head on down the road again. And we're gonna go over to Manna Market and turn it back over to you, Christina.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Manna Market. I would like to introduce our presenter, Forrest Gregory. Thank you.
Forrest, are you there? Maybe on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Well, let me start off by sharing what Manna Market really is. We are not, and what we are not. We're not a food shelf. We are a food recovery ministry. Our primary focus and goal is to recover the abundance with which God blesses this country and we waste. So 29% of all edible foods are wasted in this country. Our goal is to recover that and put it to good use. In the process, we accomplished the exact same goal that a food shelf does, which is get food out to people that need it. So that's what Manna Market is. Before the pandemic, at this site, we were serving about 130 families a week. Right now, we're doing about 1,200 to 1,300 families a week. The pandemic has caused us to ramp up our operation tremendously. And it doesn't look like it's going down anytime soon. Right now, well, this past Saturday, we served 502 families. So our intentions was during the pandemic that we would ramp up and meet the need. But since then, all of the powers to be have asked us not to go back down to what we were pre-pandemic. So now we're revamping our operation and looking at a long-term program where we can continue to operate at this capacity. So there's a lot of logistics involved. We are a volunteer operation presently. No one gets paid. So to operate at this capacity, we realized that we have to start hiring and paying people. It's so hard to rely on volunteers because they constantly come and go, and there's certain strategic positions that we need consistency. And so we're in the process of looking for funding to start hiring the people we need. Like I said, we are a food recovery ministry, so we deal with mostly perishables. And so hence our name, Manna Market. Manna was a very perishable item that God provided the Israelites. And so that's a correlation between what we're doing and what God did. You know, we provide a lot of produce, a lot of perishable items. And it's also an opportunity for us to speak a little bit about our faith life, because our guests always ask, what does manna mean? You know, what's it all about? And so we have an opportunity to share. We not only deal with food items, we get a lot of non-food items from Second Harvest and the grocery stores that we pick up, laundry soap, just about anything you see on the grocery shelves, we also get. So we provide a lot of that kind of products to our guests. In the early days, we started Manna Market in 2008. In the early days, a lot of our guests would tell us how they would rather starve than go to a typical food shelf. And hence, that's when we decided we needed to separate our operation and not have a typical food shelf type operation. And that's how we came up with the name Manna Market. And you notice it's not Manna Food Shelf, it's Manna Market. We've always tried to create a market environment. And right now, we are transitioning from curbside to bringing the guests back in. And we are creating a market type experience for them, where it's basically a free market. They come in, they do their own shopping. No one's monitoring. No one's looking over their shoulders. We want to get to the point where they can come in every day that we're open. Right now, we're only open 3 days a week. We want to work ourselves up to 5 days a week. One of the things that's very challenging is the vast numbers of guests that we serve, and how do we get them all in and out in a reasonable manner. Right now, we're only serving 2 hours distribution, but with them doing their own shopping, we're going to have to go to 4 to 6 hours, which means we'll have to have that much more volunteers to be helping us. Presently, we go through about 40 to 60 volunteers a day come out and help us with distributions and stuff like that. So we've been very, very blessed by Substance Church, who has provided us with about a 10,000 square foot warehouse space where we are currently operating. And it is because of that warehouse space that we have been able to operate and serve the numbers that we're serving. Our website says that we serve Anoka County, but so far we've had open boundaries and we serve all of Minnesota. When we've met our capacity of food resources, then at that point, we may have to set up geographical boundaries and to control our numbers. So far, we have not met that product threshold. Right now, we're distributing about 300,000 pounds, anywhere from 250 to 350,000 pounds a month. Yeah. So that's what Manna Market is in a nutshell.
Well, thank you so much, Forrest. What an incredible story. And thank you for all your incredible work. I see Natividad's already saying she's going to start volunteering. And we're going to go to the slide that'll give people the information about you and how to contact you. So thank you for that incredible story and all the great work that you're doing.
Alrighty. Thank you. You bet. Bye.
Again, thank you, Forrest. And we're going to move over to where you can get a hold of folks to help with Manna Market. And we're going to go to our final stop of programs. Go down to Park Plaza, which is only about a mile from my house here in Fridley, and to Natividad and Christina.
Awesome. We've already heard from Natividad today, but I'm going to turn it back over to her, Natividad Seafield, representing Park Plaza Cooperative.
And Natividad, did you want me to start with the video?
Sure, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this and then go to the video.
Live in manufactured homes like the ones behind me. And here in Minnesota, 80% of those people are low income. And this park is resident owned, but many are not. And as rent increases, it's forcing families out of one of the last affordable housing options left in the country. Natividad Seafield calls Park Plaza Cooperative in Fridley, Minnesota home, something she's grateful for now more than ever.
I spend a lot of time crying. 3 of my friends right now are homeless in their vehicles.
She lives in a resident-owned community where rent is just $520. Rent has barely budged since 2018. But parks owned by out-of-state companies are a different story.
When I moved in, the rent was around $694 a month. And now it's $840, and it's been 4 years.
Trevor Nelson lives in a park owned by an out-of-state company.
For manufactured housing, even though the houses are affordable, if you can't afford to pay the rent, then it's really not a deal.
The cost of renting land for manufactured housing typically rises 4 to 6% a year. Dave Anderson with Minnesota's All Parks Alliance for Change says out-of-state investor buyers see that land as profit.
Something has to be done about the rents. People are getting priced out. There's no justification for the increase in rent other than just pure greed and profit.
Out-of-state buyers scooped up more than 80% of all home sites on the market in Minnesota last year.
It's a big worry. What's going to happen to manufactured housing if we continue to see outside buyers come in? It's so different. Or maybe they come in and everything is great. You know, we only hear about the bad stuff. So always keep in mind there probably is some really good ones too, right?
State trade associations tell me that many of the mom and pop owned parks are in poor condition and they sell to larger corporations who come in and do renovations. Those larger corporations can either do renovations or shut down the park entirely, which means many families will be left finding a new place to live. In Fridley, Minnesota, Mills Hayes.
Again, thank you everyone for coming today and for Sue for driving the bus. Park Plaza Cooperative was established on February 15, 2011. So we've been a community for about, 12 years now, and have enjoyed being able to take care of everything we need quickly and on time. The water's never shut off. You know, we've had a lot of things happen. We've had some big infrastructure deals done. We've done $1 million worth of infrastructure without raising the rent. We built a storm shelter worth $624,000 with a good majority of the vote to raise the rent $6 whole. Who gets to do that kind of stuff, right? And several times we've held the rent for 3 years. So this year we will be doing a rent increase for the first time in 3 years, and it will be $5. Now you think about the community across the street from us, which has about 500 homes. The corporation that owns it is out of California, and they are now over $800 a month from this last increase. Our on-site manager lives in a community called Blaine International, which is no longer called that. It's owned by Haven Park. During the time of last fall, her community, along with one other one, Haven Park, bought 2 communities for $72 million. Right before the sale, the rent had gone up $40. Directly after the sale in February of this year, it went up $40, and their recent increase was $47. That's over the 8% that most places do or less. So we're already seeing problems with that. They also are charging service fees, like $200 to do your lawn. They will mow your lawn for $200. And so anyone coming in new automatically has to pay that. These are the new service charges that are getting charged to communities owned by some of the big corporations. Instead of raising the rent super high, we'll tack on service fees. So being resident owned gives us control of all of our finances. It gives us a democratic board and voting rights for everyone who's a member. We currently only have, I believe, 6 families left that are not members, but everyone moving in becomes a member at $200. And that is a lifetime membership. You sell your home, you get that back. We currently have 6 vacant lots, of which we're trying to find ways to fill those lots without having to do some humongous buys ourselves. We're hoping to reach out to folks like Mandy Meisner, the commissioner, and their group with the money that they're holding at this time to maybe purchase 4 homes and then find a way to donate them. We're looking at becoming Section 8 voucher holders, landlords, so that way we can offer that as well. We have partnered with a great place called Home Source, who will be able to purchase the homes, completely fill them with all the appliances needed, and do all the setup. And that's all included in the price. So now it's trying to find ways to help people get in, right? So there's a lot of things that are behind the scenes that we're working on. And we're reaching out to many folks, and anyone out there who also knows anyone that's a contact for veterans. We would love to see if any veteran sources can purchase a home and donate to a veteran in need so that they're able to move in home ready and just have to pay their rent and your utilities. And I think that would be a great deal. The homes are expensive nowadays. They're over $114,000 plus, but it includes everything: washer, dryer, stove, refrigerator, central air, the steps that are needed. They're beautiful. They're only 2 bedrooms because that's the only space we have available, but that can house anyone, someone with disabilities, someone who is a retired veteran in desperate need, and a small family with maybe 1 or 2 kids that are voucher holders, even single people with vouchers. So those are what we're working on right now. We have about 83% Hispanic families. We have families from Bosnia and family from Afghanistan and Ethiopia. We're extremely diversified. We're a family community. We do take pets. And let's see what else. And we're very thankful for everyone who has backed us and helped us push for bills to make other communities a safe place to live. So that's our story.
Thank you so much, Natividad. It's so wonderful to have you on the MICAH board, as well as Sue Baisden, and the incredible work that you help with the Anoka County chapter for MICAH too. So thank you for your work. And you're also the vice president of All Parks Alliance for Change. And that's a statewide group that David Anderson is the executive director of, and try to make sure that we're keeping manufactured homes communities affordable and available for folks, as everybody needs a safe, decent, accessible home that's affordable for them at their income. So thank you for your great work. Get a little information on Park Plaza, and then how you can contact Park Plaza. And then we're going to head down the road now. And for our final stop, talk a little bit about policy. And I'm going to be doing the updates on the federal and state legislation. And so I'm going to be stop sharing, and I'm going to come to another screen to share our policy updates. So in your chat, you received some information on the Bring America Home Now campaign. This is coming from people that have experienced homelessness that really want to see the structural changes that need to happen in our society. We've had 5 decades of growing homelessness in this country, the longest period of growing homelessness ever in our history since the colonial days. So as I begin this presentation, let me say very clearly that elections matter, that who you vote for determines how these dollars that we have available are going to be utilized. We have trillions of dollars available at the federal level and billions of dollars available at the state level. It's about making sure that we demand and expect that our policymakers that we are electing to represent us are utilizing those resources for the common good. So as MICAH, we work very hard at the national level. I'm on the National Coalition for the Homeless Board, past president and one of the founding members of that. And we work very hard at the state level with Homes for All and with the Minnesota Coalition for the Homeless, also a former president of that organization and a founding member of that organization too. But what we need is to have trillions of dollars on the federal level coming in to really address the neglect that we've had on housing that is affordable for people at their income in our country. And so basically we have a 6-pronged approach as we are working on the Bring America Home Now campaign, focusing on housing as a human right, that health and homelessness are linked together, and that for people to be healthy, they need to have a home, that we need to have livable incomes where people have enough resources to pay for their housing. And this is jobs, folks on public assistance, people that are unemployed, and people that can't work, and to make sure that people have those resources. Then having the education and training so that they can get the types of jobs that can really help them stabilize and move ahead and be all that God's created them to be. One of the plan, ARP and the Department of Labor provides $40 billion to help folks do that. Part of it is specifically designated to provide apprenticeship jobs for people experiencing homelessness, people with disabilities, and people that have had interaction with our criminal justice system. And so we are working very hard with the Department of Labor as well as with DEED here in Minnesota to get those dollars out, and so we can start employing people that are at risk or experiencing homelessness. And then, as we know, we have incredible discrimination that's happened in our country, from redlining to a variety of things, people being criminalized because they're experiencing homelessness. So protecting people's civil rights is critical. And we do have some states that are following what the Cicero Institute is pushing out there, which is to criminalize homelessness. It's a felony to be homeless in Tennessee right now. In Missouri, they're trying to take all the homeless dollars and say you can't use it for housing or for shelter. You have to institutionalize people. So we really need to remember that these are God's wonderful creations, people, and that we need to treat people like people and not like trash, and stop sweeping, doing encampment sweeps and encampment bulldozers, but rather do homes instead of sweeps. Racial equity is also a key, is that we see the inequity across all of our different systems and the importance of us making sure that everyone has equitable opportunities to all the resources in our community. Some immediate requests that we're encouraging you to be involved with. We currently on the federal level are under what's called a continuing resolution. This means that the government did not shut down at the end of September, and because they did not pass the budgets, but that will go through December 16th. So we still need to pass our fiscal year 23 budget. Again, the federal fiscal year starts October 1st and goes through September 30th. Some threats, as I just mentioned, is we have a lot of anti-homeless rhetoric and legislation that's moving at the federal, state, and local level, and that we as people of faith and people that care need to stand up and say no, is that we're going to treat people like people, we're going to help people have the absolute best lives that they can have within our community. We're going to be welcoming communities. Some ways that we can do that is the Family Stability and Opportunity Voucher Act, as well as the Ending Homeless Act, that do significant increases in resources to help people get into housing through vouchers. In addition to that, we have the American Housing and Economic Mobility Act. This would put additional dollars into our National Housing Trust Fund and expand the fair housing protections. The Eviction Crisis Act, the Stable Families Act, that would be very similar to the emergency rental assistance program that we had, the rent help program that we had here in Minnesota, but would be much more flexible than the program that we had here in Minnesota. It's more similar to some of the programs that our counties did that really provided an opportunity for us to get the resources out very rapidly to prevent evictions. And then continue to expand our Fair Housing Act and improving that by making sure that if you served in the military, you were a veteran, or if you have a housing choice voucher or any type of subsidy, is that a landlord cannot discriminate against you. Again, these are all pieces of legislation that we are working on the federal level. We encourage you to contact your U.S. senators and congressperson to help in supporting those pieces of legislation. One of the newest pieces of legislation on the state level that comes into effect on January 1st is the local homeless prevention aid. And here in Anoka County, we will have almost $2 million per year for the next 5 years to assist in preventing family homelessness and youth homelessness. And this program is designed really to assist in providing rental assistance for families and youth up to, that are living independently up to the age of 24. So we're really pushing that counties will use their American Rescue Plan dollars to front those dollars. The Minnesota Department of Revenue will provide half of the dollars in July and the other half in December. But we don't want to wait till July to get this going. We have many folks that are living outside right now, folks that are living in their cars in Anoka County, folks in shelter, and we can provide these resources right away starting January 1st to help people have housing in our community and have a rental assistance for even over 2 years. So this is a great funding resource. This is something that MICAH worked very closely with Representative Gomez's staff in putting this as a part of our tax system. And so this is available in each county. Each county has a differing amount of dollars that's available. But again, Anoka County will have about $2 million per year for the next 5 years. As far as MICAH's legislative priorities, they are similar to what we had last year. Obviously, we ended the 22 session with $12 billion left on the table. So we have $12 billion that is available for us to use to meet the needs of people within our community. And we are demanding that our policymakers, as they come back, as we elect new policymakers, and some are returning, is that they meet these immediate needs of folks that are experiencing homelessness and hunger and are unstably housed. So our first priority is to ensure that the voice and power of people, that their people are using their God-given voice and power, they have experienced homelessness or the housing crisis, are at every decision-making table and designing, implementing, running, and evaluating the programs for homelessness as well as housing. We continue to work on the lead paint poisoning, our lead safe home bill. Basically, we have about 700 children that are poisoned primarily by lead paint in the state. 1 out of every 3 homes in Minnesota have lead paint in it. And so this is very dangerous to all of our children that are under the age of 6, and we need to protect them. We also are working on federal legislation in this area also. On racial equity, we want to make sure that civil rights are protected for all people experiencing homelessness and in all housing programs and in all of our different support systems. Then we want to really focus on preserving and creating safe, decent, accessible, affordable housing, both rental and home ownership for people with incomes under 30% of median income. And that's basically under $35,000 a year of income. And so that's folks that are making $15 to $16 an hour, folks that are seniors that are on fixed incomes, that are oftentimes being driven out of both their single family home and or apartments because the rents keep going up or the taxes keep going up and their Social Security or their public assistance does not keep going up. Then we want to continue to support livable incomes for people that are employed, unemployed, and on public assistance. We think it's ridiculous to have people that are on public assistance. We are not providing enough resources for people to afford housing. We need to make sure that people have the resources to afford housing in our community. And then as a faith community, we want to ensure that we are a welcoming community and that we're creating opportunities for everyone, and especially providing second chances and mercy for those who have struggled with addiction, mental and or physical health, criminal and or rental issues. We all have made mistakes. We all fall short of the glory of God. For those of us from various faith perspectives, we truly believe that we all need to have second chances. And then MICAH will continue to be actively involved with the Homes for All process as we continue to develop our 2023 priorities over this next couple weeks. I'm going to turn it back over to Christina to take us to our endings.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sue. This is just a good reminder for us that we are called to put our faith into action. In the words of Pope Francis, we can find no social or moral justification, no justification whatsoever for lack of housing. It is our moral responsibility to be doing this work for the sake of our neighbors. We must demand all our systems and organizations do what is needed to guarantee everyone, without exception, a safe, decent, accessible, and affordable home. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here to everyone joining us this morning. Thank you so much for all of the work that you do and for joining us today. I will turn it over to Linda Soderstrom. She is on the MICAH board to do our closing blessing today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here today on this journey. This is an Irish Gaelic blessing, as my ancestors were heard to say. May the good saints protect you and bless you today. May trouble ignore you each step of your way. May joy and peace surround you. Contentment latch your door, and happiness be with you now and bless you evermore. May your pockets be heavy and your heart be light. May good luck pursue you each morning and night. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, we pray, the good Lord will hold you always in the hollow of his hand.
Thank you so much, Linda. And thank you all so much for joining us today at the MICAH Anoka County Virtual Housing Bus Tour. And we hope that you have an incredibly blessed day. If you do need to leave, feel free to do that, but we do have a couple more minutes. If you'd like to ask a question, you could come off mute and ask that question. I'm seeing that many people are choosing to take these couple minutes to leave and take care of some other business. So I want to, again, thank you all so much for joining us today. And we hope that you have a blessed day. Please stay actively involved. Sign up for our newsletter and our constant contact. Please join us at the Anoka County MICAH chapter meeting. We are not meeting this evening. It's usually the second Thursday at 4:00, but we will be meeting again in November. So have a very blessed rest of the day.
There's a question.
Oh, sure.
Ms. Brown?
Ms. Brown, hi, thank you. I want to thank Linda for inviting me to this wonderful presentation. Linda and I are with the National Low Income Housing Coalition, and I'm a resident board member. And I've learned so much from this presentation, and I'm really excited to implement some of these best practices. And that being said, Sue, is your presentation available?
Yes, Mrs. Brown, we will have this up on the slide deck for the policy is already up on the MICAH website under policy. And then this entire video will be available in just a few days after our videographer does a little bit of editing.
Very good. I'm just so impressed with all that you're doing, all that you've accomplished. And I just think the rest of the nation can learn from you and what you're doing and the strength of your community. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Linda, for inviting her. Any other questions?
I have a question for Commissioner Meisner, if you're still here.
I am.
Oh, yay. Hi. I was just wondering, is there somewhere we can access the way that the American Rescue Plan dollars were allocated, like for other things as well? Like, is that published somewhere?
Yes, yes, it is. And then there's been several amendments as we go through time and make adjustments.
Okay.
So I would say the fastest way, if you just want to email me directly, Christina, and then I can either send you the link or get you connected with the appropriate staff for that. But that is a very good question. And we do talk about it at our board meetings, which is the second and the fourth Tuesday of every month. But a lot of people actually don't watch the board meeting. So that's why I'm smirking a little bit, understandably, but we do actually present that information publicly as well.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Thank you.
Any other questions before we close out for today? Again, thank you so much for joining us. Hope it wasn't too bumpy of a ride as we moved along, and looking forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care. God's blessings.
Thank you, everybody. Good to see
Bye.
everyone. Good morning.
Stay safe.